Well, hello. Amazing. Okay, so this was my new little intro, and we're doing a little bit of reform. And right now we'll do a sound check. Hey, TF. It's always good to see you here. Let's see. We got Wildwood in the house. Woo! Kirsuma. And we had somebody coming in earlier, Slava Ukraine, Heroim Slava, which is Hero Slava. Okay, so sound check, TF, everything's good. Brandon's here, Brandon. Actually, you know what? We have a special guest tonight, and because we are talking Ukraine and everything, and I wanted to get somebody else's opinion, and somebody else who is going blind into the whole Putin and Carlson talk. So, Brendan, I am sending StreamYard through the thing, and after a while, we can probably open up a panel as well. Let's get while Brendan is getting ready over here. We'll get a little bit of music going. You know how we are. Let's see. There you go. Let's do some 80s techno. Perfect. Okay. It's been a pretty interesting 4 days or so, because listening to a lot of the different channels and actually watching the 2-hour interview. If you don't know, the interview is between Tucker Carlson and Putin, which is there's a lot of speculation how they don't know how he scored it, but yet we kind of do, because Tucker Carlson's been one of the forefronts leading for Russian propaganda, and he's one of the people that actually got fired from multiple channels here in America. So he is leading his own little way. But this is Al the Prow. Oh, I like the new name. Dave. Okay, so let's welcome. Everybody clap your hands. We're welcoming Brendan to the stage.
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
Good. How you been?
I've been pretty good. Been on, Nerd Report Daily, been with Bernadette and Andy and Lewis and all of them. So it's been fun.
That's amazing. Oh, you know what? Bernadette is here in the house. Hey, babe.
Yeah, hello, babe. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we can have Bernadette a little bit later too. Is that a picture of you and Bernadette on her YouTube channel?
Yes. She came down to Houston, where I'm at, the Houston area, and we spent New Year's together.
Nice. That's amazing. I'm so happy for you guys. Yeah. Thank you. And so you're always hanging out at the other Nerd Report channel. Remind me the name of it, and actually we'll drop it in the chat as well.
Yeah, there's Nerd Report and then Nerd Report Daily.
Okay, so Nerd Report Daily. So
he's been kicking ass with the Scientology stuff lately.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of videos and stuff, because in LA there's a lot of protesters around Scientology building. Do you want to give a little bit of background on that?
So yeah, there was this guy, his name is Streets LA, and Lewis has interviewed him. So if you want to go check that out, he has that on there. And then they shut down this Hollywood Boulevard Scientology Center, where they go and they kind of prey on people who can't speak English as well, language kind of people. And now they're they got busted, because they're like, hey, come in and do a personality test, and then they want to sell. It's like a pyramid scheme. They're a book, and then people out there are saying es una secta, es un oculto. So it's it's a sect, it's a cult. That's what they're saying, because they prey on people who can't really defend themselves, because they're like, oh yeah, I want to check my personality, and then they go in there and then they get swindled for their money.
Well, because like they don't know if it's just a personality check or it's a getting indicted into the cult of Scientology, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not like gonna call them like terrible people. I know that they're it's bad, but it's up for you to decide, right? Like,
Yeah, well, I'm gonna call the cult of Scientology, so
yeah, I mean,
because
it is a cult, yes.
yeah.
Okay, I know where
Because
you stood on it, but yes,
yeah,
it's a cult.
if
Yeah,
anybody wants to clip it or anything, yes, NMA does not like Scientology whatsoever, so I believe
yes,
it's a
no.
cult.
Peace out on that
Yeah,
Scientology.
yeah. Peace out on that one. All right, so but today's topic is actually not a Scientology topic, right? This is maybe for another day that we can do a little bit deep dive where actually Scientology came from. That would be interesting. But today's topic is Carlson and Putin interview. So you are going in blind, right? So this interview was 2 hours long. It was pretty brutal to watch because, well, 2 hours listening to Putin talk, it hurts my ears. Let's just say my mom walked away in the middle of the interview and say like, I'm done. It's hurting my ears to even listen to Putin. My little background is I am Ukrainian, right? I've been in United States for over 23 years now. I'm actually like almost 24 years. I do have a master's degree that I dealt with Ukraine-Russian relations back in 2016 when I graduated. And I started my master's degree during 2014 when Russia took over Crimea. And when a lot of the coup that happened in Maidan, which like in Kiev, and when Russia came in, swooped in and took over Crimea, and there's a lot of war that happened on the eastern bloc of Ukraine with Russia. And so yeah, this is kind of my my little gem over here. So fire away any questions.
I have a question. Is Chechnya near there?
It's not just near there. It's a little bit east, but I'm actually going to dive into Chechnya. When Russia invaded Chechnya in 2000, the tactics that they were using in Chechnya, we can see the similar tactics, the war tactics they're using in Ukraine as well. So I was going to do a little bit of a deeper dive and that just do a little bit of comparison.
Okay, sorry, I didn't even bomb that, but
No,
or not
no.
bomb, but go forward
Sorry, sorry, you had to listen to all bull crap. Yep, I'm telling you, it's a bunch of bull doo doo. Okay, so let's get straight into it. Let's get this music paused. Okay, I am not going to play the full 2-hour interview. I am going to play a couple of the segments so that way, and we'll talk about it and see what you think, what your opinions are, and I'll dive into it as well. Okay? Oh, by the way, one more thing. We have a couple guests in the house as well. We got a little puppy cam for everybody else to get entertained. You know, because this is the kind of topic, you know, they're listening to Putin and then just go to sleep.
In Russia, they stay awake, huh?
I don't know. Okay. Oh, I also got I wanted to thank members, like all of my channel members, because all of your efforts and everybody else that supports this channel, I was able to buy an arm. Like I was able to buy a microphone arm, so my table can be free and I don't have to trip over the wires anymore. So thank you all for the channel members. That's pretty amazing. Yay! Okay, let's see. Let me get Zen. What do you think a lot's going on, partly related to the Orthodox and Catholic feud? Not so much, but we can delve into that in a little bit after. I kind of wanted to. It's been rough. It's been really, really rough to listen to him this whole time because I've been avoiding listening to him like a plague. Plus, I also kind of delve into the Russian, like the way, because a lot of the conversations get lost in translations, right?
Mhm.
Russian to English translation. But I really wanted to listen to him in Russian language too, and there's a lot of translations lost.
I came into this blindly, but I did hear about his that interview, and I heard some people say it's been rough listening to him, and also like he's never been questioned in like over 20 years. So he just goes into it. From what I've heard, he goes into it like it's just you can't question him. He's one track mind, and
Mm-hmm. He is one track mind. Okay, so let's begin at the very beginning. When, if you guys don't know, but I'm sure a majority of you know who Tucker Carlson is. He's used to be Fox News host on one of the shows, like Tucker Carlson show. He got fired from that. He got fired from that, and he got fired from multiple other channels. So now he's a independent journalist, right? But he's actually been used to drive a lot of Russian propaganda. Okay, let's see. Let's
The
play
following
this.
is an interview with the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin.
Okay, hold on just 1 second. I'm going to speed this interview up because I don't want to listen to him in normal things. So we're gonna just like speed it up just a little bit, right?
Shot February 6, 2024 at about 7 p.m. in the building behind us, which is, of course, the Kremlin. The interview, as you will see if you watch it, is primarily about the war in progress, the war in Ukraine, how it started, what's happening, and most pressingly, how it might end. One note before you watch. At the beginning of the interview, we asked the most obvious question, which is, why did you do this? Did you feel a threat, an imminent physical threat? And that's your justification. And the answer we got shocked us. Putin went on for a very long time, probably half an hour, about the history of Russia going back to the 8th century. And honestly, we thought this was a filibustering technique and found it annoying and interrupted him several times. And he responded he was annoyed by the interruption. But we concluded in the end, for what it's worth, that it was not a filibustering technique. There was no time limit on the interview. We ended it after more than 2 hours. Instead, what you're about to see seemed to us sincere, whether you agree with it or not. Vladimir Putin believes that Russia has a historic claim to parts of Western Ukraine. So our opinion would be to view it in that light as a sincere expression of what he thinks. And with that, here it is.
hey, okay. So before
Okay,
I get into
February 22nd,
wait.
2022, you would.
Okay.
you said he is pushing a propaganda, right? And before we talked, we were speaking about maybe we can have some pushback, right? Do you think he's doing this for propaganda, or he's exposing the way social media can be used eventually? Because he left Fox, and he left Fox. Now he's on his own, and he's getting these big interviews. Do you think it's bigger for
He
people, or it's more
he's
important?
definitely try to use this for clout, right? Well, first of all, in Russia, they actually make fun of Tucker, right? They make fun of him in the media. They make fun of him everywhere, and then they are calling him a puppet. They're calling him a Western media puppet, right? And
Hmm.
especially like Western media is calling him a useful puppet, the useful puppet to Putin, because he can push the narrative, the very conservative narrative, and the very conservative propaganda that is Putin is pushing out of Russia. So he can actually push it towards the conservative crowd within United States.
But before we continue, at that same point, we're using social media right now as a platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he didn't leave Fox; he got fired. Yes, well, that's the thing that got put out. But it's like a pension plan from when a cop gets fired. But anyway, so is this bigger for social media now? Like, does it open and expand social media versus networks?
Yeah. If talking about like an actual social media platform, and yeah, obviously he's utilizing this and he's getting monetized about like all of this stuff, right? And it, but the thing is, like, I think he truly is just trying to do something with his life. And
Hmm.
honestly, I think Tucker Carlson is an idiot in the first place. And yes, I said that. And then if anybody doesn't agree with me, you know what? You don't agree with me. You don't have to. So it's everybody else's opinion. But the thing is, I don't think he's that smart, right? To actually be like, oh, well, let me utilize all of this platform so I can do the big return. I think he's so deep into the weeds that tied in with like Russian propaganda that he probably didn't really have a lot of choice to get tied in with this interview as well. You see what I mean? So it's like it's really hard. First of all, it's really hard to score an interview with Putin. Plus, if you take a look at throughout the history, especially within recent history, he's been keeping distance away from a lot of people. He's been, if he does an interview, there's always this big table, right, in front of him. He's putting that barrier in front of the interviewers. But yet, for some reason, he feels more comfortable with him because he thinks of him like as a puppet. And it's obviously it's kind of staged in a way as well, because at the very beginning, and then I'm going to show this segment too. At the very beginning, he says, well, is this going to be a serious interview or a talk show? And I'm going to get back into that. So let's watch this segment, okay? It's like at the very, very beginning.
Addressed your country in a nationwide address when the conflict in Ukraine started. And you said that you were acting because you had come to the conclusion that the United States, through NATO, might initiate a, quote, surprise attack on our country. And to American ears, that sounds paranoid. Tell us why you believe the United States might strike Russia out of the blue. How did you conclude that?
It's not that America, the United States, was going to launch a surprise strike on Russia. I didn't say that. Are we having a talk show or a serious conversation?
Here's the quote. Thank you. It's a formidable series.
Okay, so I'm gonna slow this one down because I'm going to explain this little segment right here. Like when he says, like, just keep listening to that again and keep actually watch the Tucker Carlson body language and watch Putin's body language. And this is since it's at the very, very beginning, and then the fact that he's asking those questions, he already presented him as a joke. Like as a joke to the Russian people, as a joke to basically a lot of Putin supporters. So yeah, and that's another thing. Was it even a real Putin, or was it one of his, I don't know, one of his dupes, right? Okay.
True.
So let's see.
It's not that America, the United States, was going to launch a surprise strike on Russia. I didn't say that. Are we having a talk show or a serious conversation?
Here's the quote. Thank you. It's a formidable series.
So basically, he's like, "Oh yeah, that's a serious conversation." But did you see the nervous laugh that it was completely. I think at that moment he realized that he's using him as a puppet, right? And because like he can't really say anything because obviously Putin is a very dangerous person, and a lot of his people that he's ruling it's very very dangerous to, because people like to fall out of the windows randomly, right?
Yeah. That's what I was saying earlier too. Yeah, I was talking to Bernadette and I was like, people disappear mysteriously and fall out of windows or have accidents in Russia quite a bit. And
exactly.
Maybe he was trying to use Tucker Carlson as a mouthpiece. That's what I was thinking.
Could be. Well, Claudia said, I like Tucker, even if he's controversial, people think for themselves. I can't believe what you say about that he used him as a puppet 100%. So see, like I said, this is I'm not dissing on anybody's beliefs. I'm not dissing on anybody's political views. This is completely my own opinions. And because I am coming in with it as a bias because I am Ukrainian as well. So, right. So.
Yeah, and I'm American, so I don't know anything about Russia, really. I'm just watching it blindly.
And that's why I'm here, to answer any questions. And then if anybody, all the new people coming in, obviously we're talking about the recent interview that happened. We're not going to do the whole 2-hour review.
Thank God.
I had enough. I had enough of listening to him. I just kind of wanted to point out like a little bit of segments here and there, so that way you can get the gist of like what the interview was about, really.
Because your basic education is in history, as far as I understand.
Yes.
So if you don't mind, I will take only 30 seconds or 1 minute to give you a short reference to history for giving you a little historical background.
Please.
Okay, so you see, that means that he did his research about Tucker Carlson, right? And then he's saying that, hey, I'm gonna give you a short version of the history, 30 seconds or so. That short version ended up being a whole hour. Yeah, or like 40 minutes. Short version ended up being 40 minutes. So we're not gonna listen to this, because if anybody want to delve into the Russian history and then how it became Prussia back in the 800s, not 1800s, but 800s, and how there's a split between Caucasus regions, and it's a rich history, and we can probably do like a documentary or something about it.
Yeah, because it wasn't. Sorry,
No.
I didn't mean to interrupt. Wasn't Prussia like Germany or something like that back then?
Yeah, it was Germania. It was like Germania, and it's very, very a lot to delve into it right now, but we'll just come back to it.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So White Rabbit thought it was a great interview. See, that's why we're here, because I am putting opinions about, like, as in me opinions. I didn't think it was a great interview because Tucker Carlson didn't ask a lot of like a really good follow-up questions. And I do have a video that we are going to watch later on in the stream. It's when he talks about after the interview and at the World Summit in Dubai. It's very, very recent. It just came out today. So, and then he's getting actually ask a lot of questions on the live stream, and then why he didn't follow up with certain things. So he's trying to explain it. Yeah, so it's from Slavs to Kievan Rus, and Kievan Rus, it's Ukraine.
And I have one question before we proceed. Do you think he didn't have a lot of follow-up questions because he was intimidated?
That could be too, because it is in basically interviewing a world leader, world dictator, I would say. He's a dictator, straight up, over 24 years in ruling, right? So basically at the very beginning of the interview, he went on into this crazy historical thing, and he was giving, and then he was trying to like drag Poland into the conflict, and he was trying to say that Poland is the one that started World War II, and it was a mess, because the way he jumps from like 800 to 1600s to 1800s to now, and then he's kind of like doing this circle thing. So if you don't particularly know Russian history, you're gonna get lost completely. So Tucker Carlson was that lost little puppy, and then just looking and just nodding and not saying anything throughout this. So let's just say
He did collaborate with Hitler, you know? Hitler offered Poland peace and a treaty of friendship, an alliance demanding in return that Poland give back to Germany the so-called Danzig corridor, which connected the bulk of Germany with East Prussia and Königsberg. After World War I, this territory...
So anyways, this is where he's talking, like, try to bring the Poland in, right? And, well, another thing is so Putin is a really big history believer, right? And Tucker Carlson did ask this one question to him that are basically, if Putin was saying that yes, the borders should be brought back, like the old borders, and um, everything should be given back, right, to Russia, because they did lose a lot of land, but some of the land didn't belong to them. Some of the land was taken by Russia before, and it was given as a peace treaty, or like for example, Crimea was given as a peace treaty by Khrushchev in 1956, but it was it was part of like the peace treaty. Here you go. And that's part of their land, but it was always part of Ukrainian land that got taken over a long time ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then this is where Tucker Carlson did ask that, so are you trying to say that the rest of the world should go back into the previous borders?
Mm.
Right? And then he kind of avoided that question, and then just moved on back into the history. History believer or history revisionist, TF said. Yeah, so most likely history revisionist, because
Yeah.
a lot of the government books within Russia I've written, or like the history books I've written by the government.
Mm-hmm. And speaking where I'm from by the Texas-Mexico border area. Well, I mean, I'm from Houston, but still, it was nobody crossed the border when it was won. The border just changed,
Mm-hmm.
and that's war, I guess. And it's unfortunate what's happening with Ukraine and Russia right now too. I don't know.
Yeah, there's
It's
a lot other stuff to delve into it. So he was. I have so many notes in here that like
yeah. Let's
19.
get to it. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Like in here.
Same things were done in other Soviet republics. This involved promoting national languages and national cultures, which is not a bad in principle. That is how the Soviet Ukraine was created. After the World War II, Ukraine received, in addition to the lands that had belonged to Poland before the war, part of the lands that had previously belonged to Hungary and Romania. So Romania and Hungary had some of their lands taken away and given to the Soviet Ukraine, and they still remain part of Ukraine. So in this sense, we have every reason to affirm that Ukraine is an artificial state that was shaped at Stalin's will.
Do you believe Hungary has a right to take its land back from Ukraine, and that other nations have a right to go back to their 1654 borders?
I'm not sure whether they should go back to the 1654 borders. But given Stalin's time, so-called Stalin's regime, which, as many claim, saw numerous violations of human rights and violations of the rights of other states,
в этом смысле, конечно, вполне можно, если не говорить о том, что они имеют на это право.
one may say that they could claim back those lands of theirs while having no right to do that. It is at least understandable.
Have you told Viktor Orban that he can have part of Ukraine?
Viktor Orban is the Hungary leader.
Oh,
So-
okay.
So listen to this.
Никогда не говорил.
Never.
Никогда.
I have never told him, not a single time.
У нас с ним даже на этот счет не было никаких разговоров. Но мне достоверно
We have not even had any conversation on that, but I actually know for sure that Hungarians who live there
они, конечно, хотят вернуться на свою историю.
wanted to get
А вот что,
back to their
расскажу
historical land.
интересную историю, отвлекусь.
So now he's going back into like the history of Hungary and the fact that they have a lot of Hungarians at the northern Ukraine, and they actually have the settlements in northern Ukraine, and then they still speak their language, their mother tongue in northern Ukraine, right? And so basically he was like hinting, he's like, oh, maybe Hungary should be taking over some of the parts of Ukraine, right?
Yeah, and the part of that segment that you're airing right now, when it seems like he was sticking up for Soviet Union.
Yes. So
And
he
that's
has.
alarming.
Well, Putin has very Soviet Union beliefs because where he came from, right? He's He's a Soviet Union byproduct, and he served in KGB. That's how he started out. And then he went under Yeltsin. He's working in the parliament under Yeltsin. And then when the whole Yeltsin, the drunk Yeltsin, and got removed from power, and that's how he rose up to power as well, because he was young, ambitious, and then since the perestroika happened, they needed to this strong leader to take Russia, to the future, into a democratic future, right? Yeah, but in a way that people tend to forget that there still have a lot of older people still do believe that communism was a good thing. The communism was like something that they wanted to be back part of, right? I grew up in communism. I was born and raised in communism, right? And I do not want to come back to that whatsoever.
Yeah, I've read the book, The Communist Manifesto. Yeah, I've read it just for history purposes. Not that I don't believe it, but yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting to actually going back to Karl Marx's theories and really look at the birth of the communism and how the theories and how some of the Leninist theories that came in, Lenin, the very first communism ruler, and when the Bolsheviks took over, and it's very interesting piece of history that not a lot of people really find it or know it as well. So let's see. Yeah, so White Rabbit says not to forget his official training in KGB. Yeah, I already mentioned that too. And he was actually stationed in Eastern Germany before during the Berlin Wall fall. So there's actually really good. You like comic books?
Yeah, I like comic books. Yes.
So there's a comic book illustration of history of Putin and his history of power. It's pretty interesting. He's like in the comic book style.
Oh, okay. I want to see that. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I'll send you the copy of it, or not the copy, but the picture of it. Okay, so let's see. Basically, he's talking here about different things, different history aspects and stuff too.
And in the case that you made, which I read today, you explain at great length that you felt a physical threat from the West in NATO, including potentially a nuclear threat, and that's what got you to move. Is that a fair characterization of what you said?
I understand that my long speeches probably fall outside of the genre of the interview. That is why I asked you at the beginning, are we going to have a serious talk or a show? You said a serious talk. So bear with me, please. We're coming to the point where the Soviet Ukraine was established.
You see, Tucker Carlson didn't ask a really good question in here, but as you can tell that he was, Putin has obviously an upper hand in this conversation, and he's already like, oh, wait a minute, I don't want to get into the answers or the questions yet, especially talking about the nuclear weapons, right? And then he was like, okay, well, let me finish my history lesson to you, and then we might answer some questions.
What I'm thinking, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It seems like they're trying to interview each other at this point. And Putin is showing his power moves before Tucker can really get into what he wants to ask. And Tucker's getting thrown off base because, Putin, he's a world leader, right? Regardless of how you like him or view him, he's going to be able to out question somebody because he's used to that. He's used to negotiations or non-negotiations. He's a world leader. It's something you can't be born with, and just it's something you're born with, you can't learn. And that's what he's doing right now. These are power moves.
Yeah. Yes, Putin thinks Tucker is a clown. by the body language and everything, like the way, the power body language that Putin is displaying, it's like he's got that. He's like, yeah, I have you in my pocket. You're gonna be on my terms in here. But with a really good journalism, you should always ask difficult questions. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter. It doesn't matter what interview, what kind of dictator or anything. That's your duty part of the journalism. You have to ask difficult questions, right? But he never really. Putin has those Xenu eyes.
Maybe he's Scientologist. Who knows? Thank you, Bernadette. Love you.
That's funny. All right, you have to tread lightly with a man like this. Last thing a person would want to do is piss Putin off and end up in jail. Yes, very true. Because he did also ask for a release of one of the journalists, because the journalist is labeled as he committed some kind of espionage, and so that's why they put him in prison.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here I wanted to talk about like a little bit of a nuclear threat.
That's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, let's see. 20. I think it's like. Oh. Sorry.
Then in 1991, the Soviet
Okay, he's going back to 2505. There you go.
The second point is a very important one. I want you, as an American citizen, and your viewers to hear about this as well. The former Russian leadership assumed that the Soviet Union had ceased to exist, and therefore there were no longer any ideological dividing lines. Russia even agreed voluntarily and proactively to the collapse of the Soviet Union, and believed that this would be understood by the so-called civilized West as an invitation for cooperation and association. That is what Russia was expecting, both from the United States and the so-called collective West as a whole. There were smart people, including in Germany, Egon Bahr, a major politician of the Social Democratic Party, who insisted in his personal conversations with the Soviet leadership on the brink of the collapse of the Soviet Union that a new security system should be established in Europe. Help should be given to unify Germany, but a new system should be also established to include the United States, Canada, Russia, and other Central European countries.
Yes.
But NATO needs not to expand. That's what he said. If NATO expands, everything would be just the same as during the Cold War, only closer to Russia's borders. That's all. He was a wise old man, but no one listened to him. In fact, he got angry once. If, he said, you don't listen to me, I'm never setting my foot in Moscow once again. Everything happened just as he had said.
So what do you think about this little segment?
He's trying to fight for his things, and he's trying to have his cake and eat it too. He's kind of hypocritical, it seems like to me. He comes across as a hypocrite.
Well, yeah, he is a hypocrite. So also, to me, well, I see Putin as this tiny little boy that wanted to be part of this world summit and everything, but it's because of his personality, because he's that little, like this tiny narcissist that's trying to like fight his way through everything, and he didn't get accepted by the big boys, right? He didn't get the place at the table by the big boys, so now he's acting up.
He reminds me of the World War II bad guy from Germany. I guess.
Yeah. That one, right?
Mm-hmm. And Stalin maybe too, and Mussolini, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. So Stalin did rule over 56 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then he did. There was a Ukrainian famine. Have you heard about the over 2 to 5 million Ukrainians died from starvation from Stalin?
Mm-mm.
Because
really?
he put a lot of taxes on grains, and then he took a lot of the grains away from the villagers, and then he basically created his own big factories, and villagers had to pay taxes to to grow their own grains. So there's like a whole video that should be made about that too.
So this has been going on for almost 100 years then.
It's been going on for more than 100 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's very, very rich history. Within America, well, United States of America is very young country compared to the rest of the world, right? And they, with Russians, there is this historical unity, right? Because we kind of hold on to our history, we hold on to our rich history, and because we hold on to our buildings, we hold on to our historical buildings, like we have in America historical societies, right? And the in Ukraine and in Russia, they have a lot of the buildings that are extremely historical. But sometimes Russians are hold on to their history a little bit too much, and then they don't become very progressive, right? They don't become because they don't like the changes. The younger generation, or my generation, right? And way more about the changes. We're more about striving forward, striving be part of this new world, right? And then getting ourselves more educated. But unfortunately, the Russian politics are still ran by this old communism generation that believes in the deep-rooted histories, like Hans Putin does. Yeah, so
he doesn't want to change his ways, and he's grasping on every last straw.
Exactly.
That.
Exactly. So, and then he goes on and on about like other stuff. And let's see, next one we'll go into. And if you have like any questions or anything about, just feel free to stop me, and just we can go off into a completely different topic too.
Oh, no. This is interesting.
All right. So Lisa is in here. Welcome, Lisa. So if you missed a little bit, we were talking about the Tucker and Putin interview. So that's why we're here for. This is a big old party here, right? Woo! See my little puppy cam. This is Pocket Puppy.
Aw, cutie.
All right, let's do this one.
They do not like something. Now, I'll tell you what happened in this regard with Ukraine in 2008, although it's being discussed. I'm not going to open a secret to you, say anything new. Nevertheless, after that, we tried to build relations in different ways. For example, the events in the Middle East, in Iraq. We were building relations with the United States in a very soft, prudent, cautious manner. I repeatedly raised the issue that the United States should not support separatism or terrorism in the North Caucasus. But they continue to do it anyway. And political support, information support, financial support, even military support came from the United States and its satellites for terrorist groups in the Caucasus. I once raised this issue with my colleague, also the President of the United States. He says, "It's impossible. Do you have proof?" I said, "Yes." I was prepared for this conversation, and I gave him that proof. He looked at it, and you know what he said? "I apologize, but that's what happened." I'll quote. He says, "Well, I'm gonna kick their ass." We waited and waited for some response. There was no reply. I said to the FSB director, "Write to the CIA, what is the result of the conversation with President?" He wrote once, twice, and then we got a reply. We have the answer in the archive. The CIA replied, "We have been working with the opposition in Russia. We believe that this is the right thing to do, and we will keep on doing it." Just ridiculous.
He's driving the whole narrative of that the West has their hands in everything, and they're trying to break up Russia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and then he always comes back to every time he met with like President Bush, right? Bush
Mm-hmm.
Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And he brings it up when he met with Clinton, and then the different stuff that they have like talked about it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
this is just kind of shows that he was trying to become part of this world, part of the big boys club, but
Mm-hmm.
he couldn't because of a lot of corruption, a lot of things that are happening within Russia itself. And actually, go ahead. I'm gonna gather my thoughts.
Okay, no, I'm just thinking. The way we do it here in the Western world, not the Eastern side. Like, hey, yes, I know there's some, term limits maybe for the Senate that we need to get handled over here. But when it comes to power like this, he should have been out a long time ago, because now he's a dictator.
Yeah. So, well, he did took a break when Medvedev was the president, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right before Medvedev became president, he was the vice president. And when Medvedev became a president, Putin was the vice president, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when Medvedev came in, he served one term, and then magically, Putin got in to be a president at first. So within Russian politics, you can be president for 2 terms, but then you have to take a break, at least for one term, to become a president again, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then he actually extended his very last term before this one. He extended the presidency to 12 years instead of 6 years. So one
Mm-hmm.
term is 12 years now. Yeah.
Yeah, man. And I speculation, but I know he has some health speculation as well, right?
Yeah. Well, another thing is he well this March actually there's a brand new presidential elections, and there are quite few oppositions that already rose up against him. And guess where those oppositions are at? They are in prison. Surprise,
Yeah.
surprise.
Mm-hmm.
So this is classic dictatorship.
Yes.
And if people still support Putin even after all of this, and after invading Ukraine, and after like any of that stuff, I'm sorry, but you should really truly read. Actually, no, don't read. Go watch a documentary on Netflix, How to Become a Dictator. It's actually really interesting. Yeah, if you don't want to read, just go watch the documentary, How to Become a Dictator, and just kind of keep in mind like how Putin is. It's like every single box is checked.
I mean, oh yeah, and then I'm not trying to get off
No
base
worries.
or track, but just the way you have him paused right here, he looks lifeless. He looks lifeless. His he looks like he doesn't care about any person but himself.
He
Look at
looks
those.
constipated.
Yeah, he probably trying to pooping instead of Putin. I don't know, but
Hey,
yeah, no,
Lori.
he would probably kill me for that.
It's okay. I probably already like on some kind of watch list just by even doing this live.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
It's-
guys.
I'm not planning to travel to Russia anytime soon.
I didn't want to make poop jokes, but I just saw
Now let's do poop jokes. he,
that.
he
All
looks
right.
constipated. He will say like, oh my goodness, I don't know what this is. It's coming out my booty.
I ate too much potatoes.
Too much meat and potatoes.
Yeah,
So
potato black.
another thing, you see his like little or big earpiece,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a nowadays technology. Come on, like you still have that big old earpiece.
Yeah, I mean, come on, it's like North Korea at this point.
It looks really puffy. Ooh,
Mhm.
one looks so puffy.
Yeah, he's bloated, potato bloated.
Potato bloated. All right, let's move on to the just a little bit further. All right, potato bloated. Oh, hey, how's my connection, by the way? Because I finally changed out my Xfinity. They pushed me out of my own modem to get their modem too. So
It's great. It's going. It's
yeah,
no
'cause
hiccups whatsoever.
I can't believe I got kicked out like so many times out of my own live stream.
Oh wow.
Are you
Maybe it's
serious?
Putin.
I said, of course. We need to think about it, I'm told.
Вот в этот кабинет.
I said, go ahead, please. Then Secretary of Defense Gates, former director of CIA, and Secretary of State Rice came in here, in this cabinet, right here at this table. They sat on this table. Me, the foreign minister, the Russian defense minister on that side.
Министр обороны.
They said to me,
Они без-
yes, we have thought about it. We agree. I said, thank God, great,
Но
but with some exceptions.
So twice you've described US presidents making decisions and then being undercut by their agency heads. So it sounds like you're describing a system that's not run by the people who are elected in your telling.
именно так. Именно
That's
так.
right.
Конечно,
That's
в
right.
итоге нас послали подальше. Я не буду
In the end,
детально
they
рассказывать,
just told us
что
to get lost.
корректно.
I'm not going to tell you the details because I think it's incorrect. After all, it was confidential
Наше предложение
conversation.
было отклонено.
So this is just kind of like saying, kind of, and a bit proving my earlier point where he's like, I just wanted to be part of this brand new world and everything else, but you just saying no to me. Like, how can you say no to me? And oh no, like I'm just gonna walk away and be my own little dictator with
But
tiny hands.
But do you think Putin is bigger than the internet, or because Tucker Carlson has this platform now? I mean, he's on Twitter. He's not on a freaking network anymore. He's on a big old thing that a billionaire owns, and Elon Musk. And Elon Musk is more powerful, I guess I could say, than even this dude right here, this little guy, this little dictator. I mean, like, where do you see this going? Because Pierce Morgan even did that too now. He quit things, and he's now going to YouTube, and now people are going to Twitter, and, they're going to take these platforms and overrun everybody. Do you think the dictators are going to take over this?
No, dictator doesn't need to take over it because he already probably has the majority of them in the pocket.
Yeah, I mean, well, China has TikTok.
Yeah, we're like, I'm not even gonna get into the different platforms and stuff because like there's another big old hole, like wormhole, right? Or rabbit hole that you can get into. But so when you don't belong to any kind of network, or where you don't belong into kind of any kind of organization, right? You have more freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want without being held accountable for. So it also always depends on what kind of narrative that you would drive as well. And if you want to drive a whole bunch of propaganda, if you want to drive, if you want to be somebody's puppet, if somebody else has you in their pocket or something.
You life suspended.
Oh, hold on, just 1 second.
Okay.
Hold on, just 1 second. Let me. Oh shoot! Hold on a second. My mom said that my life got suspended for a policy violation.
Oops.
I guess. Wait, why?
Right there. Black.
Oh, stream unavailable, suspended for policy violations. Oh, I guess the Russians are watching me. Okay, now we're back. We're back now. Yeah, we're back. Okay, let's not do this. Let's quit watching him because I don't want to watch him anymore. And then the Russians are watching me and they try to suspend me, right? And then they're canceling Zanime again.
Oh gosh. Oh my. I was watching something about this one guy that's been attacking you before, and I was watching a podcast, and they were bringing him up in the chat, and I was like, "No, I know this guy."
Actually, you know what? I bet you, because when you report like a live stream, you report it for like copyrights, like copyright
Mhm.
strike, or you report it for something else. They will temporarily suspend your live stream just to take a look at like actually what are you doing, and then they'll put the live stream back up. So guess what? Whatever troll is trying to disrupt our Putin Tucker Carlson conversation did not win this time. Did not win.
No, well, thank goodness, and God bless the USA. That's what I'm gonna say. Oh.
Nice. Okay. So let's see. I did wanted to. There's a couple things. Okay, so there are certain things that like key takeaways, right?
Mhm.
From this interview. One of the key takeaways is like basically Putin is not done with the Ukrainian war. He mentioned that he's willing to talk, right? He's willing to basically talk it out and see if they can come into their conclusion to end the
Mhm.
war. But the thing is, like, when they do talk, he's gonna say, like, I want this and this and this and this, and he's not gonna back down. But the Ukrainians do not want to talk to him because they are standing up for themselves. They're standing
Mhm.
up for their borders, and they want Crimea back too.
Mhm.
So they're standing up for themselves because if they didn't, right, so
I mean, to me, honestly, I've fall. I mean, I know there's a lot of money going to Ukraine, but I still fall on their side. Like, we're siphoning money to that from
yeah.
US.
Oh, hey,
And
hold on a second. Lisa did bring up a really good. So it's Fair Use Act. It's Fair Use Act. I can stream anything that I want because it's fair use. So go ahead. Sorry.
no, I'm just saying, yeah, no, I mean, we're siphoning money into it, and it's for a good purpose, but it's just because then there's other things going on in the world too, like between, Israel and Palestine, all that stuff too. I mean, it's just hot button things, and the money is just gonna get drained, and it's just I don't know where it's gonna end. Where are we gonna go to WW3? You know, right?
Right. It's besides the WWE, it's WW3.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where it's gonna end up, and it's hard to talk about this kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know what's gonna happen.
I really hope we're not gonna get there. Like I truly, truly hope we're not gonna they're into that 3 number, right? Because think about this. In a 1 and a 2, we did not have nuclear weapons.
Mm,
Now we do.
mhm,
And the fact that Putin's constantly just kind of throwing it out like, oh, we have nuclear weapons. We have nuclear weapons. Right. And then
mhm.
also, if Ukraine didn't give up their nuclear weapons, do you think that Russia would invade Ukraine?
I mean, that's the whole thing with Iran that was almost in like 2020, you know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
too. And I mean, yeah, well, because WW2 or World War II that was the when the hydrogen bomb or nuclear bomb was dropped, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Japan. So, I mean, Oppenheimer that just came out.
Mm-hmm.
The
That's
world the world's changed since then, and I think I don't know. We have more technology, and it's just going to get scarier. And I don't know. I don't see us. I think we can. I can see us doing our own nuclear, just like the way they kill the dinosaurs. We can do it to ourselves.
So we're like the virus to the planet, right? We just do
Yeah.
it to ourselves. We self implode.
Yeah, I think that. And I mean, I wish I had a better way of wording it, but no, I'm just a human.
Yeah, I don't think that, in my personal opinion, I don't think there's going to be a nuclear war, right? Because, well, another thing, there's always that somebody else is on that other side besides that button that president or the leader or dictator pushes, right? And then
Mhm.
that somebody else is going to have that conscience to hold on to, like the guilty conscience, if they do press those buttons or turn those keys, because all the president or dictator is doing is just pressing the button to alert somebody else to deploy the weapons, right?
Yeah.
So
And sorry, to circle back to Putin, he can't think he's the end all be all person in this world. I mean, he has to understand that he's going to get, eventually, if you're going to be this kind of person, you're probably going to get taken out eventually too. It's like you've watched The Godfather. I mean, you've seen Scarface maybe. They all end up getting, it's just the power is all consuming, and maybe you do too much
yeah,
and people realize it. I might be on a list right now for in Russia, but who cares?
it's just for being on this anime show.
Yeah. But still, I mean, you can't do too much. When you do too
Hmm.
much, you're going to get stopped,
Yeah,
no
exactly.
matter who you are.
So here I'm gonna share this article from Political. Let's see. Since they're striking us, oh, it's the Russians are striking us. The Russians, they don't want us to talk about this, right?
I'm going to go eat a kolache afterwards. It's Polish, it's not Russian.
Nice. Okay, so some of the key takeaways from this is Putin isn't done with the war, right? So the main message Putin sought to convey to Americans: there's no point helping Ukraine with more money and weapons. And Carlson, who has himself previously questioned US support for Ukraine as it seeks to defend its people and its land in the face of Russia's assault, was all too happy to help deliver that message. So here, let's see if
Why don't you just call Biden and say, let's work this out?
What's there to work out? It's very simple. I repeat, we have contacts through various agencies. I will tell you what we are saying on this matter and what we are conveying to the US leadership. If you really want to stop fighting, you need to stop supplying weapons. It will be over within a few weeks. That's it. And then we can agree on some terms.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, they're not gonna agree. They're not gonna agree on the terms that Ukraine wants. Plus, Ukraine doesn't want to open up the dialogue with Russia because they want all of this to stop. Ukraine did not invade Russia. Russia invaded Ukraine, right?
Mhm.
And then the Russia's been fighting in Ukraine since 2014 with the taking over of Crimea. So another takeaway was Putin sought to undermine Americans' faith in democracy as well. So there's no, let's see, let's just watch this. Oh, I guess that's not a video. So Putin ran through the ways in which past US presidents in his decades in power, he has seen 4 of them to come and go, and failed to reach consensus with Russia on security matters, even when he claimed they wanted to. Right, so it's basically like, oh well, all the previous presidents failed to help me out, and
So he's the victim now.
yeah,
As a
oh,
dictator. A
oh,
freaking dictator is a victim. No, get lost.
and the Kremlin's propagandist notch a win. So anyone who can dent Putin's armor is kept light years away from the president, whether they're wives of Russian soldiers, independent journalists, or anti-war election challenger Boris Nadezhdin, which is, like I mentioned earlier, there's anytime there's an opposition and that person just goes to jail, right? For
Mhm.
example, Navalny, Alexei Navalny, he's in prison, but they cannot murder Alexei Navalny because he has a wife that is a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they silence them pretty much,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
exactly.
yeah, light years away, like you said. It's
So,
like, yeah,
You
just
believe the United States
shoot,
might strike
shoot, fly, don't
Russia
bother me.
yeah, exactly. So let's watch this segment really fast.
out of the blue. How did you conclude that?
Uh,
Why you believe the United States might strike Russia out of the blue? How did you conclude that?
Да, дело не в том, что Америка
It's
собиралась
not that
нанести
America,
удар.
the United States, was going to launch a surprise
У нас
strike
с
on
вами
Russia. I didn't say that.
ток-шоу или у нас
Are we
серьезно?
having a talk show or a serious conversation?
yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to listen to this one again. I don't know. It was this right here is just like he really just put that little cherry at the top at the very beginning. He's like, before I'm start eating my ice cream, I better have that little cherry.
Well, I gotta give it to Tucker Carlson. I mean, I never really liked him, but he's really kicking ass when it comes to this.
Yeah. So another one is Putin continues his Elon Musk charm offensive. So Tesla and ex-boss Elon Musk has had divided loyalties when it comes to Russia war on Ukraine, initially assisting Kiev before appearing to succumb to Kremlin propaganda in talking points. In Carlson's interview, Putin took the opportunity to stroke the billionaire's ego. Let's watch this
There
one.
has never been anything like the Roman Empire in the history of mankind.
So when does the AI empire start, do you think?
Due to the genetic researches, it is now possible to create a superhuman, a specialized human being. There are reports that Elon Musk has already had a chip implanted in the human brain in the USA. I think there's no stopping Elon Musk. He will do as he sees fit. Nevertheless, you need to find some common ground with him, search for ways to persuade him. I think he's a smart person. I truly believe he is.
I don't know. I really, honestly, I don't think he can persuade me, Elon Musk, because he's a free thinker. He has more
Mhm.
money than Putin, I believe, and he's not. He doesn't want to be a cosmonaut. He wants to be an astronaut, and he's. I'm in Texas, and he's in Texas. He's not going to. I don't think. It's like trying to buy like the biggest celebrity in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Elon is the biggest celebrity, and
Yep.
you're gonna make him dance like a monkey. I don't think Putin can get him to do that.
No. But he was like stroking his ego for sure with
Mm,
the statement.
It ain't getting nowhere though.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I don't think it's gonna get anywhere. I don't know what your chat feels like, but do you think he can get bought by uh, a dying? Well, this is my speculation. I think he's sick, and he's a dictator. Do you think Elon can get purchased by a sick dictator?
Elon is probably the one with a plan for world domination.
Yeah, no, over him, no.
Yeah, I doubt he can get purchased. He's like, he's probably like, I don't need any of this stuff. Yeah.
No, Elon's gonna be like, nah, dude. I'm trying to become a cyborg
Mm-hmm.
and fly into Mars. Okay.
Right. So,
No.
do you guys want to watch the world panel of the interview where Tucker is talking about like his interview previous? So it's about like 20 minutes, and we can stop and talk about it. So, because I noticed somebody in the chat like wanted to watch this. Let's see. We'll do that. Oh, wait, before we watch this, this is from MSNBC. This is a little segment. It's about 3 minutes long. And you know how Tucker Carlson right now is a big Russia supporter and a Putin supporter and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this one is pretty interesting. Let's see. That's, you know what? You guys have been fantastic, by the way. Whoever's still
Yes,
sticking
thank
around
you.
here, all of my 16 viewers. I think we had like 21 at the beginning.
Oh, sorry if I chased him away.
Oh my God, no. It's the Russians that try to strike, or all these different trolls that are coming in that I try to strike and everything. You know, I did a poll before I did all of this. Well, before I decided to come in here and actually talk about it and talk like my opinions about it. And by the way, thank you so much for coming and talking with me about it as well. But so I did a poll and it says like, yes, let's talk about this. No, let's not talk about it. And the third one is said, I'm just a troll and I'm here to press this button. And then somebody actually pressed it. That was funny.
It is funny that they chose to press that, but I'm sure we appreciate that. Thank you for
Right.
your honesty.
Yeah. All right, so this one is actually kind of funny. So let's see, play.
Not Vladimir Putin's only friend in America right now. As a noted conspiracy theorist and vocal critic of U.S. support to Ukraine, Tucker Carlson is already well known as a bit of a Kremlin mouthpiece. So in his 2-hour interview with Vladimir Putin in Moscow this week, it's no surprise he mostly just sat there as Putin effectively steamrolled him with revisionist history and disinformation. Now, Tucker can take some modicum of credit for asking Putin to release Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich, who's an actual reporter who's been wrongfully detained in Russia on false charges of espionage. But for the most part, this wasn't an interview at all. It was a platform. And by giving Putin that platform without pushing back,
That's what you mentioned
any of
earlier.
the most outrageous claims, Tucker handed Putin a big PR victory. Notably, Tucker did not challenge Putin's baseless accusation that the United States orchestrated a coup in Ukraine in 2014. He was also silent when Putin made the obviously false historical claim that Poland, not Nazi Germany, was responsible for starting World War II. At the same time, Tucker never called Putin's unprovoked attack on Ukraine an invasion. He never asked about Russian atrocities or the targeting of civilian infrastructure. He never asked about Putin's political crackdowns or Russia's rigged elections or his assault on democratic institutions around the world. In fact, Tucker later said he thought Putin, a war criminal, was sincere in justifying his claims of Ukrainian territory. The thing is, Tucker might be useful to Putin, but he's no idiot at all. I mean, deep down, he must know that his public admiration of a Russian autocrat is a bit disingenuous and opportunistic. That's because Tucker used to express a whole lot of skepticism when it came to Putin and Russia. And he did so when he was on this very network.
As James Carville once said to me, and I thought it was a particularly insightful point, he said, I wouldn't get on a Russian elevator. Well, again, if I can just end by saying, I think it's quite a stretch, though awfully generous of you, to add Russia and China to the list of so-called civilized nations. But you're a big-hearted guy.
The way they want
doesn't have our interests at heart. I mean,
I
wouldn't cross the street to save our lives. What do you really know about Vladimir Putin? We dig up the dirt on the man running Russia these days. The struggle between the British and Russian governments over the poisoning death of a former Russian spy in London heats up. Why are the Russians refusing to cooperate in the investigation? Do they have something to hide? Of course they do.
Well,
and Tucker also referred to Putin as a dictator and repeatedly slammed Russia for helping Iran's nuclear program.
there's two sides to that coin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, he's allowing them to get their propaganda or their talk out, or he can push back. And it honestly, right now, it doesn't seem like he's pushing back. He's just allowing them to get their word out. And, you know, as far as I can remember, and since I guess the Cold War, they have been the opposition, right? Why are they embracing that now, though? Like, what's the shift? Like, is it? Do you have any idea why they're embracing that?
The
From that side of
opposition?
the world, that opposition.
So why they're embracing the opposition?
Yeah, because I mean, it seems like Putin is a Soviet Union guy.
Hmm.
He was backing it up. Why do you think they're doing that? Like, what's the purpose if you're an American, for freedom and religious freedom and political freedom? Why are they doing that? Like, what's his purpose? And I mean, I know Tucker Carlson is just trying to be a journalist, but there's people that back up the Russians now. They're like, "Oh, he's doing good. He's great." But no, I mean, we can't. I guess are we trying to block propaganda here, or are they spreading their propaganda?
Well, they're definitely spreading their propaganda. The Russian government is spreading their propaganda, and especially the Russian news stations. Every single news station is owned by state media, right?
Mm-hmm.
And anytime there's any kind of opposition that rising up within Russia, within the news media, they getting either arrested or they're getting kicked out of the country or they accidentally fall out of the windows. And the only way that to get actual truth out of Russia is to have news stations that are outside of Russia, like in Lithuania, in Poland, and well, it used to be in Ukraine as well, is because it's so just closed in. And but the fact that people don't realize that there are a lot of Russian people live in poverty. They
Mm-hmm.
live in poverty. They are getting neglected because all of these oligarchs and everybody else who's in parliament, right? They're the
Mm-hmm.
ones that run in the country. They're the ones that getting themselves rich by oil and gas, right? And then, so because that's what Russia is known for, a lot of oil and a lot of gas. So a lot of that money is going into people's pockets, not to the people, right? And then one of the reason this kind of things is able to happen and able to keep going is because of the people who are in the government itself. But people do stand up for, like, Russian people do rise up against all of this. They're rising up quietly. They're rising up outside, right? They're talking, and they were talking way before the war started, right? They were talking, try to get some kind of reform within the government, some kind
Mm-hmm.
of, and but it hasn't happened because Putin is still in power because he's a straight up dictator, right? 24 years in power. The only people that have power for this long is the dictators, right? Like look at North Korea, for example. So that's what people were standing up. But now, since Putin invaded Ukraine a couple years ago, and actually end of this month, it will be a couple years to a T, and now it's hyper focused on what is happening within Russia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And since it's really hard to get, the Russia became under a digital curtain. It's not behind the iron curtain like back in Cold War days. Now
Yeah.
it's behind the digital curtain. The digital curtain is propaganda. The propaganda that's driven by the Russian media. But people are still speaking out the ways. They're speaking out through YouTube, speaking out through TikTok, utilizing all these different platforms to really say, like, hey, look, people are suffering within this country. They're living in poverty. There is no middle class whatsoever. You either very poor or you extremely wealthy. It's a huge class divide.
And you know what really effed them up is when they had the World Cup over there. And
Yeah.
I mean, I had at the time when the World Cup was in Russia, it was either you're just rich or poor. You couldn't even attend. And I had a boss that one of my the company that I worked for, the owner, he went there and he was like, "I like Russia, but it's either you're poor or broke, and there's no in between." And he was like, "And then there's the rich people. Like it's either just like middle class or no." pretty
Mhm.
much. And then if you're rich, it's because you're there from like Saudi Arabia or something like that, you know? So
Yeah.
it was weird, he was saying. And
So to answer a couple of the questions from the chat, this reporter came on like, why would he ask this question? Yeah, he did. So, and then Bernadette asked, the Tucker got threatened about. Well, yeah, of course. I'm sure he got told of what not to say, or what not to talk about, right?
mhm.
And as any kind of journalist, even though he's sitting right in front of Putin, but you know, he just didn't ask the hard questions. But
Love you, Bernadette.
yeah, but the thing. Sorry, I got so that's why I'm always drinking my water, because when I talk my throat gets really really dry. Sparkly water is the best for that.
Oh, I like sparkling water, yes.
I got the San Pellegrino over
Oh, okay, nice.
here.
I had some black cherry sparkling water earlier.
Yeah, those are the best. So yes, you're right. The World Cup, when they hosted World Cup, right? For example, let's talk about LGBTQ community, right?
Mhm.
And because it's basically illegal in Russia, right?
That's messed up.
Yeah. And there's a still community, large community out there underground. And so during the World Cup, the LGBTQ community wanted to go and protest the World Cup, right?
Mhm.
But the protest spots were specifically designated by the government where you can protest. And then they were like miles away from the area, because the protesting is illegal. And then you can only protest in specified areas, right?
Mhm.
And so now they took every single area away. Now you're not even allowed to protest whatsoever, because you get thrown into prison. You cannot protest against the war. You cannot even say the war. It's military operations within Russia.
So it's just like yeah, it's like they treat it like it's mandatory, like you can't question it, right? So
Mhm. Yeah.
damn.
Yeah, and there have been quite a few protests that are actually rising up right now, and a lot of oppositions that are happening within Russia itself. Especially the protests are happening from the mothers of fallen soldiers, or the mothers and wives of the troops that are deployed to Ukraine. And they're protesting, we need our sons back. We haven't heard from them in months. Where are they? What are they doing? Because they don't even know if they're deceased or not. And the fact that Ukrainian people and Russian people, there are a majority of them really did tie it in, because there's always somebody's grandmother or somebody's grandfather is in Ukraine or in Russia, or somebody's like aunt and uncle, or they go to vacation in Ukraine, or they go to vacation in Russia. And Russia used to have this program where Ukrainians can go and work in Moscow, like at the different positions, right? And the fact that all of this is happening, this whole war is happening, it's destructed so many families that have on both sides, right? They cannot go see their dying grandmother. They cannot go see their children if they live in Russia, right?
Yeah.
So,
And
and go ahead.
mhm. No, I'm just saying, yeah, that's tragic. I mean, because they're so close to each other right there. I mean, the future generations are gonna hate what I believe this man and Vladimir Putin is doing. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
they're gonna hate it.
they're absolutely going to hate it. Absolutely. And you gotta always ask yourself this question: what side of history are you really on? Like, what side are you going to be pro Putin? And because when everything eventually comes out, right? Because remember, poop floats,
Mm-hmm.
so that everything comes out. And look at Hitler. or HT person, right?
Mhm.
So at the beginning, he was very liked. And when the World War II happened, right, and all of these atrocities were hidden during the World War II, but then they start coming out. There were rumors that all these atrocities is happening with the camps and everything, and with the different blocks, blocking off the different parts of the cities specifically. And when everything was over, after a while, everything just came out. It's right there on the surface for everybody to
Mhm.
see. So that's why you always have to ask yourself what side of history you want to be on.
Mhm. I mean, yeah, it's the same thing with Hirohito in Japan, and then what they did because he was like considered the sun god. They thought he was an emperor from the heavens, and they did some things, unspoken things to the Koreans, and all this kind of stuff. And then they, Pearl Harbor, all that
Hmm.
kind of thing too. I mean, it's just what kind of side, and then we did unspeakable things too by unleashing the deadliest weapon on the
Yeah.
world. And
Oh, absolutely. Two
you
of
know,
them. Two of them.
yeah, yeah, and it's just like you don't ever know what side of history you're going to be on. It's just going
Hmm.
to be, we're humans and we're going to be just pretty much having a bat, just boom, 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 like cavemen or something like that,
Hmm.
like the cartoons.
Yeah, we
Whoever has
make
a bigger bat.
mistakes. So, Goose, I wanted to kind of actually point this one out. Yes, that's right. Like during COVID, during the lockdown, because we were in a pandemic, world pandemic, and then yes, we could not see our dying grandmothers or attend funerals or attend births or to be part of that, right? But it didn't last forever. It was just there. It was this period that we absolutely had to go through,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah. I'm not gonna say it's right or wrong, because some situations could be completely avoided, right? And then or could have been approached a little bit differently. But it was temporarily. Imagine having that forever or for a very long time, for years to come. Because after this war, because the war will over, the war will be over, no matter how, but it will be over. Because some wars don't last centuries, right? Well, sometimes they do, but I'm talking about like this type of war. There might be some pockets here and there, they're still under attack, but it's not going to last forever. But
Yeah.
the repercussions of it, and how the world see Russia right now, right? How the world see Russian people right now, and that's gonna stick with them for centuries. That's gonna stick with them for a long time.
Mm-hmm. And
So,
it's gonna stay there for. I mean, this one has been going on for what, maybe 4 years now, though, or 3 years.
well, 2 years. The official invasion was 2022 on February 24th.
Okay.
And it's been going on 2 years, but the Ukraine's been with war with Russia since 2014.
Oh,
Since
a
yeah,
decade.
since they've taken over Lugansk and Donetsk region, and there's been fighting going on since 14 in that region. But this official invasion, actually since December 24th, 2022. And then the reason I know that, because that was the hardest week of my life. We were contacting everybody else. We were contacting all of our family members, and we just did not sleep. We were glued to the news. We were glued to what's happening, what is going on over there. And right after that, I just dropped everything and I went to save my cousin and my niece. Yep. So I brought them here to America.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, the internet is a crazy place, and I never knew I would meet you. And be here talking to you and having this chat. And
Yeah, this is fantastic. Thank
I
you.
appreciate all your people, your channel too, and Lewis and Nerd Report for kind of like putting us all together. But it's just crazy that, it's still like Bob Marley said, one love, one heart, you know. We are
Yeah.
like that. We have to be like that way. Like
Mhm.
we're people. I mean, I don't know. It's like food can bring us together, or just laughter, or something like that. I know everybody loves tacos.
Yeah. Everybody, a lot of people like puppies,
Oh,
especially like
look, yeah,
sleeping,
you little
sleeping
baby.
puppies. I don't know
Hey,
where it
that's a
has been.
Chihuahua too. That's mine. That's from my. Oh, what's her? Is it a boy or girl?
It's a girl. Her name is Pocket Puppy. As in,
Pocket puppy.
yeah. Well, her original name was Starlight,
Uh huh.
but we call her Pocket Puppy because she was so tiny. She's
Mm-hmm.
so like Wayne, my fiance would put her in the pocket and just walk around the whole
Oh,
house. So she's kind of stuck with the Pocket Puppy name. Yeah.
oh.
You know what? We're coming in about an hour and 30. I'm not gonna watch. Yeah, we're not gonna watch the reaction because I'm kind of getting tired of talking about Tucker Carlson and Putin, and it's
Okay.
it's it's exhausting. you know, um, yeah, it's doing all this research and actually like making sure that I get hit up all the points that I really wanted to hit up, and but I'm here. If anybody has questions, feel free to go into the comments, comment it out, be trolls. If you want to be trolls, because guess what? Every comment still counts. It doesn't matter if it's a bad or not, but it still counts towards the algorithm.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we've been there. We've been trolled against. Both you and I have.
Oh yeah, I'm tuckered out. That's right. Yeah, I'm tuckered out. But yeah, I think it's 7:34 p.m. in California time right now. And I think because I don't like to do really long lives. If I do, it's mostly just like us just hanging out and me doing
Mhm.
something, listening to some music. And then so I think it's a pretty good point to close in.
Okay.
What do you
Yeah,
think?
if there's any other people in your chat that want to ask questions too, but if not, um, you know, I'm here with well, like I said, we met through Louis. Go check out Nerd Report. He's been doing some pretty good stuff on Scientology lately.
Hmm.
And then Bernadette and I have Nerd Report Daily live on Saturday nights. I think you've been in there before.
Hmm. Yeah, I jumped into the chat before.
Okay.
So
So yeah, and then
oh
you
wait, I
can.
think I think I actually jumped into your show one time too.
Mhm.
Didn't
Yeah,
I?
oh
Yeah.
yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, thank you to Lewis and Nerd Report. And then yeah, the Scientology stuff is going crazy. Like I don't know if you ever seen that kind of what they're doing, the Scientology audits when they're out there in Hollywood. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen the Scientology audits.
So like these people are, and Lewis is out there too reporting on it. But like Scientology on Hollywood Boulevard has been like bringing people in saying, let's bring you into a personality test, and they're like, oh yeah, it's a free
Oh,
personality test, and then they get you, and then they're like, okay, well, you have to pay $40, buy this book, and then you have to spend your money, and then it's like a pyramid scheme.
okay, got it.
Yeah, you've heard of Scientology before, right?
Oh yeah, the
Yeah,
cult. I mean the cult, right?
yeah, and they say it because they feed on Spanish people too, and then so they're like, "Es una secta, es un oculto." They say it
Hmm.
in Spanish and stuff like that. So it's interesting. So
Yeah,
I
there's a
can plug
reason.
anything.
There's a reason I don't like this one specific actor, and I refuse to watch any of his movies, any of them. Like especially with the brand new Top Gun that came out, I really, really wanted to watch it, but I refuse
I understand.
because
Yeah.
I do not support.
Well, no, I will not say his name. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he who shall not be named.
Voldemort.
Voldemort. Yes, because you never know, they might strike my channel again.
Yeah. No, but yeah, no, oh yeah, I don't want that. So
Yeah,
Bernadette said, "Thank you, Zanime."
yeah. No, thank you guys. Thank you all for hanging out here. And I'm going to try to stream a lot more often, around like this time, maybe like 5 or 6. Usually, probably around 6 p.m. Nothing too late. Maybe some during the day streams, because usually with my streams is more of a, yeah, sure, I'll let's do it now. It's very spontaneous, because you know what, I stream whenever I feel like it. I don't have a set schedule. I don't like schedules. But if please do comment down below, like hit the thumbs up and everything, or thumbs down if you want. It's still gonna help us, help our algorithm. So one of the things, if you hit thumbs down, it means that you don't like this kind of content, and it's not gonna hurt the channel. So and then
yeah, it's not gonna hurt. I was gonna say, it's no skin off my ass. I don't care.
Exactly.
I was like, should I cuss?
Yeah, exactly. Brendan, if you want, stick around here for a little bit after we do like the whole outro and stuff too. So
Okay.
all right. So let's see. Where is, I just have this like new cool thing, an intro and outro stuff. Okay. Anyways, peace, love, everybody. Mwah.
Chicken grease.
Chicken grease. Hit it.